Hi everybody, I'm Tricia from Club Scrap, and I just want to know, what do you think of my new t-shirt? I know you're all very computer savvy, but today we're going to spend a little bit of time exploring the long lost art of monogramming and handwritten correspondence. So let's get going. Now today we're going to make a beautiful monogrammed gift set, and I want to break this down for you step by step. We're going to do some really cool stuff today, and the first thing we're going to be doing is making these stationery folders to hold the contents inside. So we're going to start out with a sheet of 16 by 20 colossal paper from Club Scrap. This is from the Stratosphere kit, and I just love the color and texture of this paper. I'm sure you can't see the texture, but it feels sort of like silk. We're going to turn this over to the smooth side or the back side, and then we're going to be using a 2 by 18 grid ruler. And I love grid rulers because it really makes measuring easy. Now what we need here is a score line about 1/2 inch in from the outer edge of the side of the paper. We're going to lay the ruler up against the edge of the paper. That's 0, okay? Slide it in now. We're at 1/4 inch, and one more time, that's 1/2 inch. Take a bone folder and just make a score line, and then you can do the same thing along the other edge of the paper, and then you can fold in on those score lines, and because you've made the score, it'll fold in very, very easily. Now the next thing you want to do is fold the paper exactly in half. Okay, now our folder is starting to take shape. We'll open it back up again, and here's a little trick for you. We're going to make the bottom pocket of our folder. I'll put the ruler down so the 0 is lined up with the bottom edge of the paper, and I'm going to make a mark way up here at 9 inches. My goal is to make a 4.5 inch pocket. But if you make your mark at 4.5, when you try to make the fold, you can't really see where you're going. If you make the mark at 9 inches, all I need to do is bring the edge of the pocket up to the line I made. And once again, I can fold and then reinforce that fold with a bone folder. Do you see the folder taking shape? And then, once again, if I fold it in half down the middle to help me make that pocket, now it's really happening. If I open this back up, take a scissors and cut a notch along this part of the folder, along the score line, just inside the score line on each side of the pocket flap. All right, so let me set this aside and show you one that has those flaps already cut. So if I open it, there they are. Now by cutting on the inside of that score line, when I bring the bottom flap up to make the pocket, I can just glue this flap down. You can also see I have a little angle cut in there. Just glue the flap down, and there you have your folder. This will accommodate 8.5 by 11 paper, or stationery for that matter. But I want to take this folder to another level. So I'm going to adapt this into a smaller gift card stationery holder. I've made a score line 4.5 inches down from the top edge and folded on it to make a flap. Then I opened it back up again and just cut down the middle of the folder to the score line. And then if you fold at an angle right here to your fold line on each side, you now have these 2 attractive looking flaps that will be perfect for holding your stationery in place. Now take a sheet of printed paper. This is also from Club Scrap's Stratosphere collection. I just love this funky print. And I'm going to turn it over to the back side and then center it beneath the flap, so that here's the center on each side, and then just trace around the flaps, and then do the same on the other side of the folder. So now you have a cutting guide, and when I cut my flaps, I just cut along the inner edge of the pencil line so that your cover for your flap is slightly smaller than the flap itself. And it really will look nice, add a little dash of color to the inside of your folio. All right, so let's set that aside. Now this is a scrap that I had from making those 2 flaps for the inside of the folder, and this is going to be a great stamping surface for us. And what we're going to use to stamp is this monogram stamper from Just Right Stampers. Right now, there's literally nothing that will stamp if I stamp this image, but we're going to make something out of it. We're going to add a little bit of a decorative border. On this stamp receptacle here, there's a channel, and on my stamp image, there's a ridge. And with the monogram stamper, you get 4 choices for a round border around your stamp. So I'm just choosing this kind of fun polka dotted image. And I'll just take the ridge on the image and press it down into the channel right on the stamp. And if you have to stretch it a little bit, that's okay. Just stretch it around to fit until it completely snaps into place and the image is flat. Now at this point you could add more to the ridges in the inside, but we're just going to use this as a decorative element. Now what I need to do is release this stamper so that this surface comes in contact with an ink pad that's inside. To release it, I'm just going to push down on this outer ridge and you'll hear a click. Then when I let go, you can see it's swiveling around and going under and making contact with the ink pad inside. Now let me just show you a little bit about this ink pad. Here's where this pad is stored. And if I just, on the side are the red buttons, if I just push on the red buttons until I hear them click, I can actually take this stamp pad right out, I can reverse it, and I can add ink of my own choice to the other side of the pad. Right now, however, there's some black archival acid-free ink pad in there. That's what I'm going to use for my project. So I'll slide that back into place until it clicks, and now technically my image is making contact with the pad. Before I stamp on my paper, I always grab a sheet of copy paper just to make sure that the stamp is thoroughly inked, and there I'm getting a perfect image. So I just want to warn you, once you get started with this, you're going to want to keep going, so have plenty of paper on hand. Okay, so here I have my little decorative embellishment image. And I just happen to have a round punch that I can use. Most of us have a little round punch about this size. And then I'll punch out the image. So let me show you how that all looks with the finished element inside of the folder. I think that's so elegant and classy. All right, I thought it would be great to personalize the front of this folder. So I have cut a little 1 by 6.5 inch anchor strip, and then I want to put a monogram right here. So I had to decide who I was going to give this gift set to, and I decided on my worship pastor, Aaron Bauer, because he's one of the only guys I know I actually get written correspondence from. So he will receive this, and what I'm going to do is turn my stamp again so I have access to add the letters. To do that, I'll push down on this outer rim, grab the red buttons, and push in until I hear them click. And now my stamp stays so I can add letters to the stamp. What you'll get with the monogram stamper is a set of large and medium-sized alphabet letters. I'm going to go ahead and put this letter A onto my stamp and then match up those ridges and press them into place. Now as I do this, you can probably tell I've taken a scissors and I've trimmed just a little bit of the letters away so that they'll fit right on here with the border around the perimeter. And here we have our AB. Just attach that to your anchor strip. What about the back of the folder? Got a clever little idea for you. Just take another sheet of paper that's about 8.5 inches wide. This time a little bit of a shorter piece. Apply glue to the sides, the bottom only. Leave the top piece open so you can slide some postage inside there. This really is going to be a nice gift. Let's just review and see how the entire folder came out. Our front with our monogram, the back, got our postage inside, and then we can open it up to reveal our decorated flaps. What's inside? Well, of course, half a dozen monogram note cards, and over on this side are the monogrammed envelopes. What I've done here is the desk of Aaron Bauer. I've laid that all out on my monogram stamper, so let me show you how to do that. Now, if you look very carefully, there are some teeny tiny letters in here, and I've added those with a little tweezers. Now don't be afraid of these little tiny letters. They're still a lot of fun to use, and they do work quite well. Just to kind of show you how this works, I'm going to pull out this random letter here. I'm going to bring it up to the ridge and just use the tweezers to put it down in there. And now my letter C is snapped into place. Let me tell you how I determined which letters would go where. I've taken a piece of paper and I just wrote out the desk of, and then I numbered the letters and spaces, found my center letter. In some cases it might fall between two letters if you have an even number. In this case, the center letter is the letter E. So back over on my stamper, here's the top center. That's where I put my E. Now, you've got to work from right to left. If you start with T, H, E, D, E, S, K, you're going to